Hello, this is Sahar. I hope you enjoy listening to this podcast.
Dawn Paul, welcome back.
Hi.
Last time we spoke about shamanism and what a shaman is and what a shaman does.
Mm-hmm.
Big part of your work is soul retrieval.
Mm-hmm.
And I have experienced that. I had an amazing session with you. Can you explain to our listeners what soul retrieval is? When is it needed? How is it done?
Mm-hmm. Basically what happens is if somebody experiences trauma or highly emotional event, or really the first time a person realises that they're not safe in the world, or feels under threat or anything like that, part of the actual soul goes away, leaves for safety. So it's purely a protection mechanism. So every time I do the soul retrieval and I ask the soul parts, why did you leave the lady or the man, they always say, because I wasn't safe. And they return to the place that they come from. So many times they go back to the earth. And the soul loss is manifested often felt by the person. They say, I feel empty, I don't feel like I'm all here, I'm constantly searching for something and I don't know what it is. Sometimes people go on great big crusades like, I have to find my real mother or the love of my life, or they're always in the right career, they're always looking for something, but very often the thing that they're looking for subconsciously is themselves.
Bit really of their consciousness. How intriguing. Are there basic maybe signs that you notice when you talk to a client to kind of see what the problem is?
Well, if anybody's...
You mentioned some of them.
Yeah, experience trauma, or if they just come and say, well, I just can't get going in my life, I just
kind
don't
of like
know
feeling
where
depressed,
I am. It's
maybe,
like lost, depressed, lost, directionless, just not all being here, basically.
So in a session, you go on an under journey or journey into the underworld.
Lower world, yeah.
And then you retrieve the parts. And then you have the client describe also what they saw during that time.
No, they just sort of have a rest or sleep or something like that. So I go on a journey to the lower world, and often when you mention the lower world, people get very upset.
They get the wrong
idea, and they think it's hell. And it isn't hell, it's just like a world that is below this dimension, because there's also a world above this dimension. So there's three worlds, so we're in the middle world. So you're just going into another world, so it's like got flowers and trees and that sort of thing. But the soul part will put itself in a position where it feels comfortable. So it might be in a little cave or in a forest or in a room with a light off, or and often times when I go, because basically you go into chambers, as you open the door they normally fly at you, and they're sort of like jumping up and down because they're so happy that they're going to come back to they haven't been suffering while they've been down there, but they're just happy now that they're going to be reunited with the bigger part of themselves, if you like.
Oh, amazing. That's extraordinary. And then can you explain to us also about the second part of the session?
Yeah, the second part is called Mesa Proxy. So the Mesa is the shaman's medicine bundle, and it's full of stones that we use, very powerful stones, and we recreate the chambers of the soul. So there's 4 chambers, and we recreate it. So many traditions would just end when the shaman brings the soul parts back to the person. You basically blow them into the energy field, and then they go, well, goodbye. And what happens in our tradition, the Inca tradition, is we do a process whereby that person gets to understand why the soul part left, what it needs in order to stay, because sometimes it wishes to be honoured in some way, sometimes it wants to be given a red flower, or wants a person to be happier, it wants them to be positive, it wants them to move forward, it's going to help them to move forward. And also I bring back gifts and animals for the person, so it's how to understand what names they have, how they want to be used, what they're going to help with, why they've come as gifts, why this person has this animal, and what situations it's going to help with in their lives. So it's basically getting them to understand why these things have come to them and how they're going to move forward, because it's all about moving forward.
Right.
It's not about dependence, it's you're empowering the person to move forward on their own journey.
And from what you're saying, can a soul bit that has been retrieved express itself as an animal or as an object?
No, they normally... I normally see them as the person was
Right.
when the soul loss occurred. So
at the time of that traumatic event.
A woman I know had a very traumatic event at a child's birthday party at 5. I see her as 5.
At that age.
Yeah, and so what I'll see is she'll show me her party dress. I'll see the slide, I'll see the haircut, I'll see the shoes, and often people go, oh, I hated those shoes, or that was my favourite dress, or they're holding a bear and that was their favourite bear. So I see them as they were at
and
that time.
Gives you an indication as to when the problem happened.
And sometimes, I mean, I know in your case it showed itself as an object, because it wanted it. It's, you know, basically they show themselves as they want to be shown,
right?
But it's normally as they were when the soul loss occurred. So if it occurred at 25, I'll see them at 25,
right,
for example, but normally they are children.
So this is soul retrieval, but sometimes you can also have entities attached to you.
Yeah, but they tend to be in this dimension, in this energy field here.
Okay.
Although you can have sort of darker energies, heavier energies in the lower world, and if they are there, I can clean them up at the same time while I'm down there, basically.
I would actually like to talk to you about that some more, but perhaps we can do that in another show. Going back to soul retrieval, what are the benefits that a person can have once they've had their soul bits come back together?
Well, if, say, that the soul part left when the person was, say, 8, when the soul part comes back, it brings back the qualities that the person had at 8. So it will have the lightness, the playfulness, the childlike qualities, the happiness, the being content with simple things. So often find people get very serious and they want to sort of loosen up and, you know, have more fun, and they've just lost the wherewithal to do it. So it's literally
you've lost an aspect of yourself.
You've lost an aspect of yourself. So what it does is it brings that back to you, so it makes you whole again, and also
invigorate your life. And
literally it does, because as the soul part leaves, it takes away units of energy with it.
So you're sort of running on an empty tank, basically, or a less full tank.
Less full tank. So if you imagine, I always say that it's like a sphere made of Lego bricks, and the whole soul, and each Lego brick has a unit of energy, and when the soul loss goes, some of those units go back to the lower world. So you're running half tank, quarter tank, or whatever, and B, you are more open, you're not protected fully because you're not all there in your body. So when the soul is retrieved, soul part is retrieved, it brings back those units of energy, so then you also have more energy, along with the qualities that you've lost of maybe being a bit lighter, enjoying the simpler things, having a bit more fun. And they all tend to, you know, a lot of them will say, I left because he was too serious, he didn't want me anymore, pushing me away. And sometimes people can actually remember saying, I can't keep you safe, you must go.
Nice.
You know, so there are,
interesting.
you know, protecting aspects of themselves. So it's really interesting work, but it's extremely healing.
Right. Can you remember offhand, like, an extraordinary experience with a client that you can remember now? That you
I can remember lots,
share?
but it's not really fair. I can't unless I've got permission. It's not really fair. To say.
Fair enough. Now that's actually interesting. I mean, because it is important for the listener to know, or for your client to know, that actually what goes on between you is totally really confidential.
Absolutely.
Because it is part of their spiritual journey and what happened to them. What I also understand is that after you see a client, you send them sort of an email recapping that journey.
Yeah, what I try to do when they go through the second part, the Mesa proxy, if they speak slowly enough, and sometimes more often than not they do, and I can write incredibly fast, is I will write down, the main word for word what they say, and then I will type it up and email it to them, because often, you know, when they walk out the door and then they go home and they've forgotten like 85% of it, there may be one aspect that sticks in their head, because it's quite deep work and they are sort of in a slightly altered state, so it's nice because then they can just refer to the notes. And I also get them to make a little, what we call a soul altar, so they get back their soul part, and let's say it's them when they're 7, maybe a gift, let's say it's a crystal, and let's say they get a horse as well as a power animal that's come to help them move forward. So then I get them to make a soul altar with maybe a picture of them when they were 7, a piece of crystal, and a picture of a horse, or an image of a horse, or a toy horse. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it represents that to them, and then they can just sit with it as well, because the
Kind of
biggest period
welcome
of
that
loss
energy
is
back.
2 weeks. So if the soul part's going to go again, it's normally that 2 week period, so they can just sit and work with those. And it's not just a session that helps them on the day and then that's it. If
That's
they
right.
carry on, they can get information from their soul part, from their horse or their crystal, their gift or their animal, and because it's all intended to empower them and help them to move forward.
That's lovely. And how do you relax? How do you unwind? How do you
Relax? I don't get a chance.
Because that's very demanding work, all that journeying and dealing with energy.
It is really. I think I'm in other worlds more than this world. I love films, really. I just completely switch off. And
you're also a painter.
I don't really get time to do that, though.
You don't? Yeah.
No. I would. It's coming up more and more that I would like to do it, but I'm a bit challenged space-wise at the moment. But I just like films, going to the cinema and things like that, and seeing my friends.
Right. Well, I hope you'll come back again and we'll talk some more. And for our listeners who would like more information about you, your work, can we give them your website?
It's www.liberate-online.com.
Thank you very much, Dawn, for coming back.
You're welcome.